Welcome to the feast. My name is Nasira Waters, and I am an educator uh, working in the school systems on the East and West Coast for over 2 decades, supporting teachers as a literacy coach and mentor as well. So I have 3 previous videos that support students and their families with the process of critical thinking. So you can go back to those and for support with resources and tools and strategies. I am continuing with this process, but this series that I'm going to create will focus on the first 21 days of school supporting teachers in the classroom. Now, I said I'm going to create a series. I'm not that tech savvy, so let me just put that disclaimer up. So if there's anyone out there that can support with that process, please feel free to reach out. That would be quite helpful, and I would be ever so grateful. Anyway, moving along. So these are some processes that I would implement in the classroom in order to build community and establish expectations. Excuse my hoarseness. I'm still dealing with the effects of being sick, but I'm going to do my best. So on day 1, we're focusing on cultivating community, which honestly is something that I address throughout the entire school year. So I'm going to focus on the first 5 days for this video, and then the following week, the next 5 days, and so on and so forth. These will focus on the warm-ups, not the actual lessons, but as we go through the series, I will address some of the activities in the warm-up so that you can get more clarity. Now, the first warm-up is, simply put, just to help me get to know students and to help them to really think about who they are, which again will happen throughout the school year. So I ask students to, once they enter, they have a warm-up that requires that they complete a name tent, which is card stock or oak tag. Depending on your age, you know which one, you know what I'm referring to. The name tent, they would fold in 3 and then write their name bold with marker so that I can see it whenever I need to call on the student. And they would keep it on their desk until I remember their names, because sometimes, whether I was working on the East or West Coast, I would have anywhere between 60-something students to over 150 students, and I, quite frankly, am not as young as I used to be, so that can be a task. It has been a task, actually. Then I would move on to the next warm-up. Students would be required to complete a contact card in which they would write their name, their full name, and the name that they want to be referred by or referred to, and their address and interests, what challenges they believe that they need to address, and what would help them to be successful this school year. Of course, what genre they enjoy reading as well. Then students would actually complete a personality survey, and that could and has consisted of either just listing 5 or 7 to 10 personality traits, or I would give them a survey of questions that foster more reflection and introspection about their traits. So they would use adjectives to do that. For day 2, it would focus on interpretation and reflection. Again, this would happen throughout the school year. So students would have a quote of the week, which I would have up on the board every Monday. Now, the quote of the week for me was quite strategic because it promoted, again, reflection and introspection, as well as when there were certain situations in the classroom or in the community or in society, I would choose a quote that would address those concepts so that students would think critically about specific situations. Again, whether the situation was an issue that I found to be a pattern in the classroom that needed to be addressed, so I would identify a quote that would address it. Or if it was something that was happening globally, I would identify a quote of the week to address that. So again, I was quite strategic with my quotes. Then students would provide something that they were grateful for that would also be throughout the week, throughout the year, but interchangeably, not necessarily every week, but often it would be. So it would be, they would focus on just what they were grateful for overall, anything they wanted to share. And then at various times, I would be more specific. What specifically were they thankful for concerning, let's say, a friend, a parent, and so on and so forth, or an event? And on day 3, would focus on introspection. I can't emphasize enough that all of these topics are integrated throughout the school year. So for this warm-up, I introduced symbolic imagery. Now, before I introduce that, in the lessons for the previous 2 days, I introduced the meaning of symbolism, and we get into that before day 3. So students go back to their personality survey with the adjectives that they identify as being traits that describe them. And so they start to think about what object, organism, or entity they believe represents who they identify themselves as, those traits that they identify. For me, I would always provide a model. And so whatever expectations I have of them, I would provide a model of that outcome. So for me, my image, my symbolism would be a butterfly, and I would identify the traits that I have that is represented in a butterfly. And there's more to this assignment, which I will include as I continue this series. Then students would complete a conscious connections survey, which presents several questions that foster more critical thinking and more introspection. Because for me, I understand that in order for students to build community with other people, it's crucial that they have a good foundation in terms of having a sense of self. And so this I start out from the very beginning of the school year. On day 4, we focus on collaborating in groups. So they share their personality traits with their group members. They share the organism or object that they say represent who they see themselves as, looking at the personality traits, those adjectives. And so they get feedback from their peers. Excuse me. And then day 5, it's evaluation. So again, they're revisiting their symbolic imagery. They're making the necessary revisions in preparation for the next step, which is also a technology aspect, so that there is an end product that students can share with one another, share with families, and we can actually post it in the classroom to celebrate their work. So this is, again, the first 5 days of the first 21 days that I would implement in the classroom to help students build community and to establish expectations. If this is beneficial to you, or you know a teacher, please share it with them and subscribe to my channel. Share this with anyone that you think would benefit from this. And again, especially teachers, because I know that teachers have a lot on their plate, and if I can support in any way, this is what I'm here to do. So I will see you next week, where I will share the next 5 days that I implemented throughout my time in the classroom. Again, remember to subscribe and share, and I look forward to seeing you next time with a better voice.